Okay, we're back.
Hello.
Episode 5, guys, of the Legion Report. I'm Ray Farrow.
And I'm Danny Hayter.
And like you say, episode 5. We've got Lana on the show today. We're going to introduce her shortly, just after we've give a big shout out to our sponsor today. Our sponsor is the Instant Kitchen Company. They provide mobile kitchens for anyone who needs them, obviously. If you're having work done at home and you're going to be out without a kitchen for a while, that could be quite hard to cope with, really, especially if you've got kids and stuff and going for cold meals. You don't really want to be doing that, or microwave stuff. So these guys can provide you with a mobile kitchen, and then you don't have to go through all that hassle. Just go onto their website, guys. It's www.theinstantkitchencompany.co.uk. They've also got a Facebook page as well. Matt is a really good bloke. He's the MD there. Great guy. Get in touch with him if you need those guys. So without further ado, I'm very pleased to welcome to the show, what is it, Lana Shackleton? Not quite.
Lana and Nongu.
Not yet, is it? So
not yet.
It would have been this time next week, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Hey.
Can we put soon to be, or is that, are we still using soon to be?
It's soon to be. It's just the old bloody pandemic and the lockdown. It's ruined a perfectly good wedding next week. We was all getting drunk. Huh?
Good old excuse for a drink.
Yeah, exactly. But that's going to be doing it next year. We've got other things you can look forward to. You can have another hen party.
Another one.
You had one in lockdown, didn't you? Come on, that one don't count.
Did you get drunk?
Well, yeah.
Of course.
That's all the head do of stag do is, isn't it? Just getting drunk.
Yeah, pretty much. It doesn't matter where you are, does it?
No, even if you are home alone.
Well, yeah, that could be a little bit depressing.
Should have got Mark to dress up for you. Should have got Mark.
I did try, wasn't having it.
Oh.
Too used to doing it, that's why.
Brilliant.
Lana, thank you for coming on today. We know you've got a really powerful story, and also some sort of powerful messages that run alongside of that as well, which I think everyone's going to really enjoy. Is not the right word, but I definitely think that it's going to be quite an emotional listen for many people. So really appreciate you coming on. You've spoke to me personally and Ray personally, and your main motivation for doing that is to try and help anybody else out there that's maybe listening.
Yeah.
And I think that deserves great gratitude, really, certainly from us here.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. We will start just getting to know you. So obviously we know you from personal life, but there's a lot of people that obviously don't know you. So start us off from where you grew up, and schools and things like that, and how that was growing up.
Okay.
So when did you grow up, and just sort of give us a background on there.
Okay, yeah. So I grew up in Lee Park in Havant. I was born there, lived there for 3 years of my life, and then we actually moved out to Nigeria for a couple of years. Completely different lifestyle to here. We lived in a mixture of the poorer areas and in the town. So yeah, completely different experiences. Unfortunately, my mum and dad split up, so we came back here. Mum and me and my 2 sisters. And we came back to Lee Park, and I've kind of lived here all my life. The thing I love about that is I've still got the same friends that I had since I was a child. So that's really nice.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, definitely. So how long did you say you was in Nigeria for?
We moved there when I was 3, and we came back couple of weeks before my 6th birthday. So yeah, 3 years.
Oh, for 3 years. Wow.
Yeah.
So
I remember it.
Yeah.
You know, vaguely. I actually went to kindergarten while I was out there, you know, nursery.
Hmm.
They were very strict, very, very
really?
strict.
Really?
Mm.
And you remember that bit?
I do. I remember being hit with a cane. Yeah.
At 3?
At 3.
Ooh.
Mm.
It's amazing how you were out there for 3 years, but you still, you know, obviously as a child, obviously I think it goes for a lot of people. As a child, you do take quite a lot of memories, don't you? Even if it's just for
Yeah.
such a small amount of time.
Mm. Yeah. So when you come back, sort of, the fond memories you had, did you play sport or did you,
Yeah.
you know?
So in junior school, I was actually really good at swimming. Mum pushed me quite a lot to do running and swimming.
Yeah.
And I loved both of those things until I went to secondary school, where that went out the window. And it's quite funny because now I really can't do either of them. I'm rubbish. But
Oh,
as a child, that
you were
was
good
something I really enjoyed. Yeah.
so you went, like you say, you went at senior school, you went out. Is that because then maybe you started getting involved with boys? Was it?
Yes, boys came along.
Ruined.
Then you don't have any interest in that. That's embarrassing to do that, you know?
Yeah.
It's not cool. Well, it wasn't at the time.
Yeah.
But also as well, what I think may be the case as well, because at secondary school, my first year in secondary school was when I lost my mum. So I kind of went off the rails a bit.
Hmm.
And
Can you sort of talk about that a little bit, if you're comfortable to? So
yeah,
obviously losing your mum at a young age, I mean, losing a parent at any age isn't easy, but at a young age, starting probably some of the most important school years of your life,
yeah.
can you just sort of talk us through how that was and your emotions and the traumatic side of that?
That was, really, really tough. Although children are really resilient, like thinking back now, I can remember obviously mum getting diagnosed with the cancer. And by the time she was diagnosed, basically she was riddled with it. She got given 3 years. She lasted 3 months. And I think in that 3 months when she was really poorly, I kind of didn't accept it. I didn't actually think, as a child, you don't think what's going to happen past that. You don't really think that they're actually going to go, that you're going to be left without a parent or, you know, whoever it is that's dying. And when she went, that was horrible. I went back to school quite quickly because I didn't want to be at home. I just wanted to try and carry on as normal. And I was left with my sisters, and they were only young themselves. They were only 20 and 23, and I was 13. It was really tough, but for me, I just had to try and carry on like normal. But then growing up, turning 16, you know, I had Josh quite young, my son. I had him at the age of 17. My mum wasn't there for all of those milestones, you know, going to college, going to uni, turning 18, 21, 30, all those things in life that you expect to have your mum and your dad around. I didn't have either of those, and that was actually really tough. And it's I miss her all the time, but those milestones growing up were actually, you miss them even more, you know, because you can put it to the back of your mind, but then when we all need our parents at certain times, and it's those times that you can't just pick up the phone, or you can't just go and knock the door. And you know, I can remember when she first died, we went on I was at a youth club, and we went to Wales on a little trip, and I completely forgot that she wasn't around anymore. And I bought her a gift, and I came running home and shouting for mum, and then remembered that she's actually not alive, that she's not here. So it's tough.
Yeah.
Did you have anyone that sort of took over that role and helped you grow up in the sense of, like, sort of became a mother figure for you? in life?
Well, to be honest, I had my two sisters. They did their best. They tried to, but like I say, they were really young themselves, and I think we all kind of went off the rails a little bit. Like, we were young. I had two close friends, and their mums did quite a lot. One of them, her mum, used to look after me whilst mum was in hospital sometimes, and so she supported me quite a lot. But then, like I say, I had Josh at a young age, and that's kind of, I think, one of the reasons why we're really close, because it's like I had something else to put that love into.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. So,
Wow.
yeah, well, we can't, to experience that at such a young age.
Yeah.
And so, like, how, we did brush on it a bit. How did you deal with it? Would you say how you dealt with it at the time was to push it back, as if, like you say, you didn't remember it?
Well,
dig it in a hole somewhere, like, and hope, like, you could just try to cope for it from day to day. I'm just trying to think of anyone else who's listening in, maybe.
I can remember when I was about 14, 15, I actually started self-harming because I couldn't cope with the emotions. And it helped me deal with it for a while, but then that I stopped doing that, and I just kind of shut it away and didn't really deal with it, I guess. I didn't really cope very well.
Okay, we won't keep plugging
it's
in.
All right.
I don't want to. So obviously you had Josh. He's a great lad, isn't he? We've met him before, and then we done. But so that was your love, and all your energy went into your baby boy then, and and bringing him up. Did you? Excuse me. So then, did you just move into a flat or a house then with Josh?
It was back then. I went through. Oh, it's awful to think about now what sort of places I've lived in. But actually, I lived in like a bed and breakfast sort of place where you shared with all sorts of different people. It wasn't the nicest of places. I think I moved in there when I was about 6 months pregnant. It was disgusting, horrible, but it is what it is. And then when Josh was born, I moved into like a hostel, they used to call it, like a shared accommodation. And there was there was 2 houses put together, and I lived with one family, and then next door there was 2 other families, but it was sort of put together. It's a bit weird. Lived there for a little while, and then they closed that one down, so I moved into another hostel where actually I'm still really close friends with one of the people that I lived with there, and our boys sort of grew up together, so it was really nice. But Josh was he was just turning 3 when I got my first flat.
Okay.
And you had a bit more independence there, and
just nice. To not have to share with other people and share a bathroom and all those sort of things.
Yeah. It's quite amazing actually, because obviously we obviously speak to you prior to you coming onto the show, and we get a little bit of background, a little bit about you. And what did amaze me was actually the fact that you obviously went through this at quite a young age, and obviously then you had Josh at a young age, but you still were adamant to go and train as a nurse. So can you talk us about your route into nursing, and how you how you started that, and what made you want to do that? Was it anything to do with the fact that obviously how you grew up? Was that sort of part of your
it's all a bit
process?
So basically what happened is I got married quite young. I got married when I was 22, and it was actually quite an abusive relationship, very toxic, lots of domestic violence. And in the end, I didn't want to be at home, and I realised actually I can't do this anymore. I want to better myself. I want to do something for my son. So I started college, but when I originally started college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to work with people. And then that's when I applied, sorry. And then when I actually started, I realised I wanted to do nursing because I had to do an access back into education. So yeah, I did that. Played around with whether I wanted to be a midwife or a nurse, and then decided actually I don't want to look at vaginas all day, so I'm going to be a nurse. And I knew, I knew as soon as
like Sam Smith.
As soon as I'd made that decision that I wanted to be a nurse, I always knew that I wanted to make my mum proud and sort of pay something back. So I wanted to do oncology. And I remember mum had Macmillan nurses, so my dream was always to at some point become a Macmillan nurse. But yeah, I wanted to look after patients that had cancer, and I wanted to show Josh that just because we come from Lee Park, because it's always had like a bad name, that actually you don't have to be someone who doesn't want to work and doesn't work. You can be someone who has a you know, an education and can go out and get a job, and you don't have to sit there and just take anything. You can make something of yourself if you really want to.
That's a good attitude.
Wow, I think that's
break
really,
the stereotype.
really good, powerful message straight away there. I think, especially like if we just recap all the stuff that you had that went through your life, obviously losing your mum, and then going into a toxic relationship where, you know, you're being abused physically, and then you've turned that around. You found a way of not just feeling sorry for yourself, but trying to find a way out of that and help other people on the way out. I just think that's amazing how you've done that. You know, that's really,
I think by being able to focus on my child, because obviously if I was going through domestic violence, he was witnessing some of that, and actually it needed to stop, and I needed to think about the bigger picture and how to make him not see that as the norm.
Yeah, definitely.
And I did get help from like Women's Aid and Refuge and all of those things to get away from that. And actually, whilst being at uni, they were really supportive and they helped me.
Yeah, could you just mention a few things like that? So at the moment, we're hearing a lot about, obviously we're all in a lockdown, but some people are obviously locked down with that abuser.
Yeah.
Which is a really worrying scenario to think, even just to think about in your head.
Yeah, it's made me all goosebumpy.
Let alone be that person. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm locked down with people I love.
And they're sending you crazy.
They're sending me crazy. So I kind of like, and there's lots of helplines and stuff like that out there, Lana, isn't there?
Yeah.
Lots of people that can help them. But like you say, it's also finding that inner strength. Like you found it through, obviously, Josh. You didn't want him to continuously see what.
No.
You know.
Do you know what? It's a lot easier to stay than what it is to go, because to go, you've got to go and start again and admit that things didn't work or they weren't working. That lots of times I tried to leave and just went back because it is really hard. But actually, once you're out of that and you realize there's much more out there, and there are people out there that will help and support you, and there is a better life out there for people. So like if anyone's listening that's going through that, don't stay, go, leave. So much better out there.
Well said.
Yeah, well said. Yeah.
You continue really to go through some real bad luck. Can you talk to us about the functional neurological disorder that you had, and just give us a really again just a brief insight as to what your mindset was like at that point. Obviously,
Okay, so 2 years after I left my abusive marriage, I met somebody else who was even worse. Within a year, he had beat me twice and one time left me for dead. whilst Josh was there, and Josh actually saved my life. From that, I truly believe that what he had done to my brain, because just what happened during the last time that he beat me, parts of my brain were damaged. And I mean, I did have different sorts of treatments. I had EMDR therapy because I was suffering with PTSD from obviously what had happened. But I think before the EMDR treatment, I hadn't actually really dealt with what I'd been through. And so I suffered with something called functional neurological disorder, which it initially started on like as if I'd hurt my back, like as if I'd prolapsed a disc or something. And then within a week, I couldn't walk anymore. My bladder wasn't working. I ended up in hospital for 7 weeks. I was having tremors. I couldn't talk properly. Just was not me. And what happens is where the stress of everything, your brain just shuts off and says, no, I can't deal with it. The way I can explain it is like, like like an escalator, all the luggage is on and then it all falls off because there's too much.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. Yeah, there's too much, so your brain just goes, no. Or like a computer, you pulled the plug out and it's just gone.
It shuts down.
Yeah, so I that was really difficult, but actually I had neurophysio. They really helped me to learn to walk again, to learn to just do everything again. But it took 7 months of living at home downstairs because I couldn't walk up the stairs because I couldn't lift my feet up. It's really weird to think that I was ever in that situation, but with positive mental attitude, I think that's really what helped me. And I had a good friend support network, family, and like I say, neurological physio. Although 18 months later, I did relapse and it happened again. But this time, because I'd been doing CrossFit, so all the symptoms came on much quicker and much worse and much more intense, but it went into remission much quicker. And the physio said that she thinks it was because I was doing a lot of CrossFit training, and actually the first time I was able to walk up the stairs with them, we were talking about CrossFit, and the next thing I'd known, I've walked up 4 steps. So wow. That was absolutely amazing. And touch wood, the last time that ever happened, I've been in remission now since 2014. So I don't think the neurological team said they don't think it will ever happen again. I just have to make sure that I don't get too stressed. And if I'm stressed, I normally train. That's how I deal with it.
Yeah. That was what I was going to come on to. Like, you went from that. And if anyone follows you on Instagram or Facebook, will see some of the crazy workouts you do now. And think you couldn't imagine that person being bedbound or having those problems. So what you've done since then has been amazing. And not only that, all the stuff we just talked about just now, that's gone on in your life. You always, when I talk to you anyway, you always seem like a positive, happy. Do you know what I mean? How have you become that way with having so much thrown at you though? That's what I mean. You don't.
I think because that's how I deal with it. Because you've got to look at life like your glass is half full and not half empty. Even as a nurse, I see it with patients that come into hospital. The people that put their pajamas on, get into bed, go into hospital mode, they're the ones who will either take longer to recover or not recover. But the patients that come in and say, actually, I'm going to beat this, I want to do this, I want to, they're the ones who you see, wow, they're doing this, they're doing that. So PMA is definitely something that I feel really strongly about.
Yeah, see, it's definitely, if anyone knows you, that you wouldn't have thought any of this sort of thing that happened to you because you are so positive and so upbeat. Do you know what I mean?
I try.
Yeah, we all have our moments, don't we?
I think there's one thing, is that you're always laughing. It's almost like, you always certainly, when we're, I don't know if it's maybe because I'm making you laugh. Sorry.
Yeah, it's normally you, Dan.
But genuinely, you are always smiling, you're always laughing, you're always happy to have a joke around, and I never really see you, and it's maybe because obviously you're in a good place, but I never see you negative, which I think's a really important, like you say, to go through this everything that you've gone through, is amazing, and it's the way you've come out the other side, and still the way you are now. There's you could certainly, no one would forgive you if you weren't that way, if that makes sense. No one would forgive you for being angry at the world, but you're not.
Don't get me wrong, I have been there, done that, got the t-shirt, but you can't. How long can you be angry for? How long can you be negative for? For me personally, it just makes me feel worse if I feel like that. So if I've got a day where I feel a bit shit, then I'll feel shit, but I'll have a chat with myself, and then I'll put my big cow pants on and get on with life. You got
to have those days, haven't you?
Yeah, you do. And I think you're right. Anger only eats away at you. It just chew away at you, and before there's nothing left. Do you know what I mean? And finding that positivity is what pushed you forward. But now, you're in a loving relationship. Yeah.
Yep.
You're the boss, so you tell him.
Don't tell him that.
Hopefully he's not listening.
You know what?
So just tell us a little bit about that. How did you meet? And
so partly thanks to you for having Southern Legion, because that's where we met. Mark actually pursued me. He started training in the mornings. I actually thought,
hanging out.
Yeah.
What am I doing here?
What am I doing?
But you know what? I sent him a message, but I also sent other people a message just asking how they'd got on in one of the, I think it was, we were doing the CrossFit Open or something.
Where you were going with that then?
No, not like that. Just sent him a message.
Which one will apply?
No, Dan. And he thought that I was asking because I fancied him, but no, I asked him because I was asking everybody. But anyway, I'm glad that he started training in the mornings and come in, because here we are 3 years later, meant to be getting married next week, but obviously now next year. But
it's great though how you turned it around, and like you say, you're in a great relationship now. We've been in the relationship for 3 years, do nothing but adore each other. I think that's the
most of the time.
That's what we see.
This lockdown period. This lockdown period.
It's a tester, isn't it? It's a real tester, the lockdown. Talking about that, so how are you getting through the lockdown? How are you coping with it at the moment? It's been, because you're still working, aren't you?
Yeah, so for the first couple of weeks, 1 week I had to put myself into isolation, and then I was working from home for a week, which was really weird because I'm a clinical nurse specialist in palliative care. And because our patients are really at high risk, we couldn't really go and see them. So we were having to do everything virtually like this. Okay. And for some of our patients, they're quite elderly, and, it's quite difficult for them to be able to do this. So yeah, some of them, but anyway, so I then, also because I'm quite new to my job, I've only been in it since the end of September, some of the things I wasn't able to do. So it made more sense for me to be redeployed back into the hospitals for now.
Okay.
It makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, but it was a bit of a shock because I haven't done night shifts for a long time. I haven't done long days. So my body went, what the hell? But so for that, I'm still working. So that's not so bad. But Mark wasn't working for a while. He was what was he? Well, he was doing like on call. He wasn't actually working. They were trying to cut down the jobs that they were doing.
Okay.
So he was home a lot more. And now he's been furloughed for a few weeks.
Okay.
So he's under my feet.
Oh yeah.
Oh no. Surely he's got some lights to put up somewhere. You can do some.
But how do you feel about, like, so obviously you work for the NHS, you're a nurse. How are you feeling about all the positivity you guys are receiving at the moment? I mean, everyone's always really appreciated the NHS. I'm pretty sure of that. But now people are going out their way to really show you guys.
You'd be surprised, like, how many free things we've had and people dropping round things. You know, that's so grateful for. Or like at work, there's people at companies have dropped round like packages of meals and things. I think they were what used to go on flights or something, but now they're dropping them to the hospital. Hand creams, you name it, we've been given it. It's absolutely amazing.
Wow, it is something that probably should have
happened a long time ago, but
always been there, because everyone I ever speak to always appreciate, you know, what the NHS does for us and how undermanned they are and what they have to go through, hours and works, you know, and stress, blah blah. So that lightning now, people are finally showing it, I think, and it's good. I feel it's a really good positive thing. It's nice to see our neighbours come out and clap on a Thursday night.
The only thing about the clapping is some of these people
Shut up.
Some of these people that are going out clapping, then they're the ones who are not social distancing. And, you know, and you're like,
so they're going out, all right, meeting up with everyone. And you're like, no.
Yeah, some of them. Don't then go and clap me.
I'll see you next week in hospital, shall I?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But do you know what? On Thursday, I just went on to a night shift, and I came out to literally everyone in the ward was clapping, because we've got a couple of patients that are end of life, so their families are allowed to visit, and they'd come out, bless them, and they were clapping us, and so all the nurses were clapping. It was just like, it was really emotional, actually.
Yeah. It is emotional when you see everybody coming out, but I think you know, about time the NHS are finally, you know,
getting recognition.
They are the celebrities of today now. That's it. You know, that's how it should be, really. You know, you guys are the, you know, everyone says about the superheroes, but you guys should have the same status, really, where, you know, you are appreciated, and hopefully now people can see that, you know, you haven't down tools, you haven't sat back and said, no, I'm not doing it. You've just gone, no, okay, this is our job, this is what we need to do. You know, yes, we need some help, and we need, you know, all the protection and everything else, but we're going to get our job done, and we're going to make sure these people, you know, helped as best as possible. So it's
it's hard work wearing all that stuff all day, though.
I bet.
Spots galore.
Oh, really?
And the patients, some of the patients can't hear you.
Because you've got the
So it is a different way to work, you know, but it's needed.
To be safe, I suppose.
And protect the patients.
Exactly.
And obviously us.
I think, like, there's one I want to just touch on at the moment. So I've got a real thing about masks, okay? So I shouldn't really be bringing this on the program. So I always have one when I'm in the supermarket, and it's not to protect me.
No, it's protect other people.
Because it's a good chance that I could be carrying it, isn't there? And I think that's what
we don't know, do we?
We don't know. We just, this hasn't been around long enough for us to know who's asymptomatic and who's we just don't know until we get the antibody tests and stuff like that. We will never know. So but honestly, it's brilliant that you're doing all this hard work for us, Lana. You know, the job that you've done and loved, you know.
And I'm not just going to stop it just because there's a pandemic, you know. I guess we you just got to carry on.
You're our little superhero.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. You know,
you're welcome. Thank you.
You have been through it all, I tell you, and like we said, you just always seem to be positive and happy, and that's hopefully if someone can someone's been through a similar situation to you, then what would you say to them to
if they're going through it
now? Yeah.
Just, don't be frightened it's okay to be scared. It's okay to say something's not working. If you're going through domestic violence, then please get help. And if you've lost a loved one, just speak to someone. People are always happy to help, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Utilize your friends and family.
Yeah, don't bottle it all up. Just yeah.
And also, like I've been doing, is like use that hurt or whatever you've got inside and put it into whatever. It doesn't have to be fitness. For me, it is, but they can use it to do something else. One thing what I did used to do when I was younger is write poetry, because rather than being able to deal with things, just write a poem, write down how I'm feeling, and it kind of expressing yourself, isn't it? You're getting it out there.
Yeah, it is. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is.
Try it.
Does it feel? Do you feel sort of better talking about it? Like you say, not bottling up is really important, and speaking about it. This will probably go out to millions, hopefully, but maybe not. But obviously, it's going to go out to a number of people that are going to hear this story. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Does that feel okay with you to have that sort of?
I think I've always been a bit of an open book. I've never really been a person that isn't happy to talk about these sort of things. So, and I think that's probably another thing that helps me just cope in life.
Yeah.
What you see is what you get with me.
Brilliant. Like you say, Lana, thank you very much for sharing your story with us. So, guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also follow us on Instagram. It's the Legion Report _ podcast. You can also find us on Anchor and now Spotify. Isn't that right, Danny?
Spotify now, yeah. We've been accepted into Spotify, so nice, easy access to listening to all of our podcasts. So yeah, jump on there and have a listen for free as well.
Yeah, and it's all free, guys. So just and leave a comment. Leave us, let us know how you're feeling. If there's any subjects you would like us to cover in our next season, we'll talk about next season, in the weeks to come. But just to look forward to our next guest, Ryan Jennings. He's been a military nurse for the past 13 years. He's currently being treated for post-traumatic stress disorder, and he's on the positive side of things. He's recovering from that, and we're going to hear his story next on episode 6. And we'll just find out how the sort of things that he's been through, but also how he's dealing with that, and hopefully there might be something there for you guys if you are going through a similar situation. But again, Lana, thank you very much. And
you're welcome. Thank you.
We'll speak to you. Well, we'll hopefully have you all on soon and listen to our next episode. So thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.